January 10th, 2017. Tuesday in the first week in Ordinary Time.
A reading from the letter to the Hebrews. It was not to angels that God subjected the world to come, of which we are speaking. Instead, someone has testified somewhere, "What is man that you are mindful of him, or the Son of Man that you care for him? You made him for a little while lower than the angels. You crowned him with glory and honor, subjecting all things under his feet." In subjecting all things to him, he left nothing not subject to him. Yet at present we do not see all things subject to him. But we do see Jesus crowned with glory and honor, because he suffered death, he who, for a little while, was made lower than the angels, that by the grace of God he might taste death for everyone. For it was fitting that he, for whom and through whom all things exist, in bringing many children to glory, should make the leader to their salvation perfect through suffering. He who consecrates and those who are being consecrated all have one origin. Therefore he is not ashamed to call them brothers, saying, "I will proclaim your name to my brethren. In the midst of the assembly, I will praise you." The word of the Lord.
The responsorial psalm. The response is, "You have given your Son rule over the works of your hands." O Lord our Lord, how glorious is your name over all the earth. What is man that you should be mindful of him, or the Son of Man that you should care for him? You have given your Son rule over the works of your hands. You have made him little less than the angels, and crowned him with glory and honor. You have given him rule over the works of your hands, putting all things under his feet. You have given your Son rule over the works of your hands. All sheep and oxen, yes, and the beasts of the field, the birds of the air, the fishes of the sea, and whatever swims the paths of the seas. You have given your Son rule over the works of your hands.
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Mark. Jesus came to Capernaum with his followers, and on the Sabbath he entered the synagogue and taught. The people were astonished at his teaching, for he taught them as one having authority and not as the scribes. In their synagogue was a man with an unclean spirit. He cried out, "What have you to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Jesus rebuked him and said, "Quiet, come out of him." The unclean spirit convulsed him, and with a loud cry came out of him. All were amazed and asked one another, "What is this? A new teaching with authority. He commands even the unclean spirits, and they obey him." His fame spread everywhere throughout the whole region of Galilee. The Gospel of the Lord.
January 10th, Tuesday of the first week in Ordinary Time. The first reading comes from the letter to the Hebrews, chapter 2, verses 5 to 12. There are two main messages in this passage. The first is that Jesus is Lord, and the angels are subject to him. That's very important because the letter to the Hebrews follows Jewish teaching, but it also follows Greek philosophy. And in Greek philosophy, that which is spiritual is superior to that which is material. The spiritual world was considered pure, whereas the material world was considered corrupt. The angels are totally spiritual creatures, where Jesus became incarnate. So according to Greek philosophy, Jesus should be subjected to the angels, and yet it's the exact opposite. That only for a little while he was made lower than the angels, but they are subjected to him. Furthermore, Jesus is the perfect high priest because he identifies with those for whom he's offering the sacrifice. He's not ashamed to call us brothers. So, even though Jesus was made for a little while less than the angels, nevertheless, that gave him the ability to identify fully with us, to understand what we're going through, so that we might identify with him. The Gospel is from Mark 1:21 to 28. Jesus is in Capharnaum, and he expels unclean spirits from a man in the synagogue. In fact, the spirits say, "What do you have to do with us, Jesus of Nazareth? Have you come to destroy us? I know who you are, the Holy One of God." Now, the Holy One of God could simply mean Messiah, but it's clear that the demons know exactly who Jesus is, and so they're able to identify him. Because of that, Jesus tells them to be quiet, because he doesn't want people to know too quickly who he is, lest they see him as a wonder worker, a political leader. He wants them to realize that he's come for a different reason, and that's why he teaches with authority, unlike some of the Jewish leaders who simply mouth a party line. Jesus lives what he says, and that people are able to see that his authority even extends to the fact that he can expel demons. In Hebrew, the word for word, dabar, also means deed. Jesus teaches them in word and deed that what he does is consistent with what he says. And that's a challenge for all of us, that what we say and what we do are consistent. And may God bless us.